All right, well, let's get into it, guys. Another episode of the Weekly Daily Podcast. Episode number, what is this, 65? Pretty incredible that I have done this every week for 65 weeks for a very minimal audience, but a very appreciated audience, I must say. Thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate you listening to me ramble and talk about God knows what. But it is another week here. We're gearing into a very busy upcoming month. It's going to be good. We're in May. This year is flying by. The spring has sprung, as they say. I'm fighting back yawns. I just ate a bunch of oatmeal, and I guess that's making me tired. I don't know. It is spring weather now, and after getting back from Wisconsin last week, which was like more spring, more advanced in their spring up there, I feel like my allergies are coming in. Not terrible, but it's one of those things where you just feel it coming in. So I've been taking Claritin D for the past 4 days. Hopefully that's does something. I don't know. I never know with drugs like that, whatever you call them, drugs, antihistamines. I don't know what that means or if that is even what it is. But for all I know, it could be a total scam. If I have a headache and I have a Tylenol or an Advil, an Advil, uh, you can probably, not probably, you can tell. In 20, 30 minutes, you're like, my headache is going away or has gone away. Thank goodness for modern medicine. Tylenol has cured my headache. But with allergy stuff, it's like take every day for the rest of your life and maybe your allergies won't be there anymore. And it's like, what? I have to take, a lot of them say take every day. Like people with really bad allergies will just take them every single day. I think on the bottle, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure it says like take every day and you should see a difference in 10 to 14 days. And it's like 10 to 14 days. These flowers are in my nose right now, dude. This pollen is dominating my interior design, aka my immune system. I don't know why I made that comparison. Your immune system, if we're being fair, that is a decent comparison, I think. A lot of my analogies are very bad. I usually stick away, but interior design, your immune system, actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, bad analogy. I'm going to abort that ramble, but Claritin D. That's too long. But I'm getting ready to go on a big tour throughout the U.S. I'm going all the way to the East Coast. It's going to be a lot of driving, but I'm going to be hitting a lot of different pollens and spring things, allergy things, trees, just all of it. And I'm hoping to get ahead of it this year and not be on the road feeling all stuffy and stuff like that. So we'll find out, to be determined. Stay tuned in the next couple weeks and see if I'm downed by the Midwestern pollen and the East Coast pollen, or if I can tough it out. I have been eating a lot of local honey too, which they say is supposed to help you. I don't know about that either. It's one of those things that they say, it's supposed to help out. Local honey has little amounts of pollen from local areas and local plants, so that's supposed to help you. And I don't know. I just think that I eat it and I go, this is honey and it's sweet and I like it. My taste buds like it. It's like a marketing. It's like milk. Milk is like, makes your bones strong, but it doesn't really. There's, so many other things that have higher calcium content than milk. But milk, Big Milk, okay, got that advertising. They claimed it. They latched on. And so everybody thinks that. And I think that's what honey is. Big honey's out here going, hey, allergies. You should take it for allergies. Meanwhile, you have it and you go, I mean, this is like 1,000,000 grams of natural sugar, and supposedly this is healthy. So, and it helps with allergies. I mean, give me some more honey. That's the selling point. But I don't know that it's helping because I'll eat a lot of it. And my allergies are like, yeah, I guess you didn't eat enough or you ate too much or it doesn't work at all. But, man, I tell you what, local honey, they charge you for it. I just got a little jar that was like, I don't know, 4 ounces maybe. It was like $12. Got another one that's bigger than that. It was $20. I threw down 30-something dollars on honey last week. That's not something I say very often. You guys ever spend that much money on honey? That's wild. I did go a little. I ate that whole jar of honey. I went a little wild. This last weekend was a lot of pancakes. Now here's the deal. Gluten-free, sugar-free pancakes. Okay, so at the end of the day, not terrible, but I could tell in my addicted brain. I felt I've never been on hardcore drugs, addicted, and relapsed or whatever, but this feeling that I had feels like what it probably feels like to relapse. Because I've done this in the past, okay, and I try to stay away from carbs and these bad foods and stuff like that because I've talked about it before. It just affects me, makes me feel terrible. But I was craving some carbs, I guess. And so I went as a treat and got gluten-free, sugar-free pancakes. Or like the batter mix. And I got it at Whole Foods. It's just like the flour combo. I don't know, whatever they have in there. The flour, the baking soda, baking powder, whatever. I don't know the difference between the two. And whatever else is in there. And then you're supposed to add like an egg, some like milk, and vanilla extract and sugar. I did all that minus the vanilla extract and sugar. And I put butter on top and then used honey as like my syrup. And I mean, I probably ate 20 pancakes over the weekend. I mean, pretty much every meal. I was just making them. And I mean, I'm literally making them, putting them on a plate, and then eating them over the stove. Just no joke. Like I will put them on my plate, put the butter and honey on there. I'll put more pancakes to cook on the frying pan, and while those are cooking, I'm just shoveling it into my face. And the feeling in the synapses, whatever they're called, serotonin, dopamine, whatever it is in your brain that's firing, I was like, I'm an addict. Like I'm just stuffing it in my stupid mouth. And I just kept going. And then I made another batch with blueberries, and golly, I mean, I was like, I told my girlfriend, I was like, this is the last week. I'm having these now. This is a treat. Not having these again. This is the danger zone, and I've crossed a line. I'm right on a line where I'm like, I might go deep. You know? I mean, I'm being half sarcastic, but also I'm not. Like, I felt my brain just feel like I'm relapsing, and the immediate satisfaction of those carbs and sugar, like whatever it was, I was like, dude, I gotta stop. So that was my weekend. It was a fun little cheat, but no mas. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole again. Oh man. Because it's no sugar, no gluten. At the end of the day, it's not the worst. Now having a bunch of butter and honey to put on every single one of these pancakes, and when you're having like 20 pancakes, that's a lot of butter and natural sugar from the honey. It's not additive, but it's still a lot of natural sugar. And having those, I think they're simple carbs, that flour. Like, it's very different than having complex carbs, which I'm not sure if I'm saying this correctly, but I think I just had oatmeal. But oatmeal is, I think, a complex carb, so it like spreads out, your body digests it slower. Whereas the flour, the refined simple carbs, you have massive insulin spike, and I mean you'll just go into a coma. It's bad. It's bad. And I cheated for a weekend, and I'm done. I'm back to the full health grind. It was yikes, dude. I felt it's so weird to talk about addictive behavior. It's not even weird. It's I was gonna say it's weird to talk about addictive behavior when there's people actually out there struggling with addiction with like very difficult stuff like drugs and things like that. But food is like I mean, that's the most common thing probably. So it's actually not weird. But the reason I was gonna say is weird because I eat super healthy. So I feel like it's weird to be like, yeah, I'm like gluten free and sugar free and dairy free, like all these things, just eating super natural, but then also being like, I'm an addict. I feel like an addict. But I truly think that I certainly have a lot of those traits and behaviors. I know when I've with sugar, oh man, I've gone down some bad rabbit holes where I mean, I've said it before. I can't eat one donut. Like if when I go down that hole, I'm like, give me 6 donuts. I used to go to King Supers, the grocery store here in Colorado, and I would just buy a pie and just eat a full pie in like one sitting, or a pint of ice cream, just so much. And the pies at King Super, I mean, we're talking about like the 4.99 pie. Like it's not even good. So then I'm just cheating hardcore on something that isn't even good. So I'm just spite eating this crappy stale pumpkin pie that tastes like chemicals. And my brain is like, I like it and I hate it at the same time, but it's satisfying my dopamine, my serotonin, whatever it is. Okay, I'm not a neuroscientist, I'm not a brain nerd, okay? But I really went down some bad rabbit holes. I've gone down. Uh, that's why I tell people I just can't have it. Same with snacks, like especially carb style snacks, mostly carb style snacks like chips, crackers, things like that. I just can't have it in my house because I will eat it and I'll eat all of it, and then I have this like binge mentality of okay, well I have to get rid of it all right now because I need to get it out and then I need to reset and not make this mistake again. So it's just all very unhealthy. If you're a therapist or a psychiatrist, you probably are listening to this like, yeah, this is classic whatever syndrome. This guy's messed up. And I probably am. I don't know. We all like sugar and we all struggle in our different ways. And there's my sugar story for the weekend. But I'm getting ready to go on the road for a 10-day stretch, I believe it is, 10 or 11-day stretch. And I'm very excited for the shows. I'm going to be bringing a cooler and a bunch of stuff to be making sure that I'm eating very healthy. It's obviously tough when you're driving all over the place and you're just kind of stopping at gas stations and like you need to prep, and I will be prepped and ready to go for this week and a half to be able to eat healthy and to feel good and energized and funny and silly and goofy. But I'll talk more about that here in a little bit. Let's first talk about, I think last time I talked about getting a couple new pairs of glasses. Those are supposed to be coming in tomorrow. And tomorrow, aka Tuesday, the time of recording this is Monday. This will come out on Wednesday, which is also the day that I leave for the tour. But I'm hoping to have these by the time that this airs and comes out to y'all, because I'd like to take the new glasses on tour and have those, just a new look for the road, but we will see. They said tomorrow, but I tell you what, I feel like more and more and more the estimated delivery time is not met, especially with Amazon. Amazon, I don't know what you're doing, Amazon. Look, you're great. It's incredible that you can get some of this stuff to my house in like within 8 hours of ordering or whatever. But it's also very frustrating when I order something that says it will be delivered tomorrow. And then I keep updating it the next day to be like, when's it coming? And they're like, it's coming in between 10 and 3 p.m. I'm like, cool. When's it going to come? I'm sitting here waiting for the updates. And then, it's like 4:30. I'm like, it hasn't come yet. And then it's like, we're sorry. Something happened. And then it's just like, that's where it cuts off. I can't remember the exact message, but this has happened like 50% of the orders that I've done over the last couple weeks. So probably 2 out of 4 times where it's like next day delivery. And then the end of that next day, they're like, it's not coming. But then it's like, well, when is it coming? And then it doesn't like update me. There was one thing I had to like cancel the order because it just was stuck in the like, we're sorry, it didn't come today. And I'm like, well, is it still coming? What is going on? So that's frustrating. But you know what? First world problems. You guys probably don't care about that. Maybe you do. Maybe you guys are also upset at whoever the CEO of Amazon is now, since Jeff Bezos is no longer. I don't know. Honestly, I don't even know I've told people this. I have been so out of the loop with news. Like genuinely, I haven't watched mainstream media or whatever it's called, your Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, those like I haven't watched that stuff for coming up on a decade probably. Most of the news I would get would be just me either reading, just going through like a bunch of different stuff and reading different sources to kind of form an idea on something, or a lot of it would be through YouTube, these independent news channels where it's people who are forthright and more transparent about like their leanings maybe. So it doesn't feel like you're being lied to. They're like, here's the facts. Also, by the way, I lean this way, so take this with a grain of salt, or take it with the fact that I'm coming from a certain perspective. And then, I felt able to take that information and then form my own opinion based on things that, I felt to be more factual versus what a lot of, I think, mainstream stuff nowadays feels kind of forced narratives, quasi lies, or just full blown lies. I don't know. That is what I digested and took in for a little while. And in the last year or two, honestly, I haven't watched like my YouTube stuff. I used to watch a lot of the podcasts and stuff from political YouTubers or hosts or whatever. Now I'll just watch like golf channels or pizza review, just random stuff that has nothing to do with politics. And so there's a bunch of stuff going on, and I'm not, some people like to stay up with it, and it is good to stay informed on stuff. And I mean, I feel generally at a very base level, like I still understand and know the wars and things that are going on. But I will say, you see a lot of people, and I've been there certainly as well, that just get super stressed and anxious and bogged down with this just assault of media scare tactics and doom and gloom and this or that. And it's, when you're watching a bunch of that stuff, it's easy to have that happen. But I will say it feels good from my perspective right now to be oblivious to a lot of that and to just be focused on trying to be healthy, trying to balance my life with exercise, eating well, trying to sleep well, trying to be productive at work, trying to be productive with comedy. Just balancing everything. It feels really, really good. So all that said, leave a comment if you guys feel similar, or leave a comment if you guys are like, I am watching everything and I can't go to bed at night. Let me know in the comments below. I feel like I got the sniffles from probably allergies. Speaking of comments, guys, I've uploaded a bunch of so obviously to YouTube I upload this podcast every week, but I had a bunch of clips, a bunch of reels that I made from the podcast that I uploaded just to Instagram over the last year. And I don't know why I didn't upload them to YouTube as well, but for whatever reason I just didn't. So I spent the last week uploading a bunch of the YouTube shorts, the equivalent of Instagram reels for YouTube, to put them on YouTube, which also makes sense because YouTube is where the video of my podcast lives. So it's like, why haven't I been putting the little shorts on there as well? But I've been putting those and schedule them out for like every couple days. And boy, let me tell you what, I'm getting like 0 view. I mean, I don't know if I'm shadow banned or if the algorithm, I don't know what's going on, because literally, not just these, but I've also put some stand-up clips in the past where the first couple were like thousands of views, and then it's just like 0 views, 2 views. You're like, it's been up 48 hours, 2 views. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the YouTube algorithm for shorts. I don't know if that constitutes or what, It feels like maybe what a shadow ban would feel like, but I don't know what. I'm doing a clean podcast here. I don't know if the algorithm has heard me say something goofy about plastic surgery or boogers, or maybe YouTube isn't a fan of people who eat gluten-free. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But if you're on my YouTube page, do me a favor. Go watch the short and give it a thumbs up. Give it a thumbs down. I don't know. Interact with it. Let me know that you can see it, if it's even available on my page. But that's something that, it can be frustrating to put all this effort into cutting out clips and then you put it up and then nobody watches it. It is frustrating, but also, what can you do? That's the whole social media thing. You're just, you're just trying your best. And at the end of the day, if you're just focused on view count and comments and likes and all that, which that's kind of what it is. But if that's the only thing you're focused on, then you're just going to be miserable all the time. So it is what it is. You just throw it up there. Watch it, don't watch it, whatever. Social media is so obnoxious. You got to have a big social media if you want to make it in comedy. Well, guess what? I have 1,080 followers. And probably 1,000 of those are either family, friends, or comedy friends. There's probably, I don't even know. There might be 80 people in there that have followed me because they saw my comedy and they enjoyed it. And so at the end of the day, if I'm traveling around the United States, I've got about 80 people who have decided to follow me due to my comedy, which are probably all in Denver for the most part. So what I'm trying to say is I can probably draw. Okay, if I get 10% of all those people to actually buy a ticket, that's 8 people, dude. Okay? If I just tour the Midwest, about 8 states, that's 1 person per state, dude. Okay? I'm gonna put that into words, send that to clubs. Be like, I got about probably 80 people who followed me for my comedy. Can I headline your club? No, I won't do that. But it's been an exciting week, guys. I got back into Fortnite, Played that last night for the first time in a long time. Got a couple comedian buddies who have started playing, and I started playing last night. Played a couple hours. Got the bug a little bit. Also downloaded the newest version of Halo Infinite, which I was playing a little bit a couple years ago. Hadn't played in a long time. And it seems like within the last 2 years since I've been away, they've really updated and fixed a lot of things. And they've kind of brought back a bunch of like Halo 3 maps, which is when I used to play all the time back in like 2008, 9, and 10. And boy, those were the days. Those were the Halo days. The Hay days. The Halo heydays. The heyday of Halo. Halo heyday. And it was, oh boy, it was fun. I was playing a little bit and I was like, man, this feels like pancakes. This feels like I could go down a dark, deep rabbit hole and may never come back. I might just become a full-time video gamer. And when I say that, I don't mean making money. I just mean full-time. My schedule is video games and I make zero income. Which, honestly, being able to do comedy and twitching on video game, that would be the ultimate dream. If I could play golf during the day, go do comedy at night, and then after comedy, play a couple hours on Twitch and stream that and have people watch and get paid from that, I mean, that would be the ultimate dream. That'd be tough to balance, though, because golf, I mean, all three of those, golf, comedy, and video games are it's easy to be like, get addicted and just go all in. It can be tough to balance. But I think you would just have to balance it and be like, comedy is my full-time job, so have to go do that. And then you get to do the video games after as a treat. And then golf during the day to enjoy the weather. You just try to balance it all out. But playing that Halo, yeah, that and Fortnite, it got me like, oh boy, we're going to have to pull back. Which, to be fair, I'm getting ready to go on the road and I won't have video games or anything for a couple weeks. So even if I did play a little bit over the next day or two, it's fine because I'm going to be separated. I'm going to be forced away from it, so I can't get too into it. But yeah, man, if you guys play video games, let me know. Leave a comment. What game should I download? If you're trying to play, let's play. I have a Xbox One and a PS5 as well. That's too many. But to be fair, I got the Xbox One in 2013. I just got the PS5 like a year ago, or within the last 6 months. And so that's not too bad. That's 2 systems in 11 years. I think that's fair. I'm a pretty frugal person, and I felt good about that purchase. But yeah, anyways, been playing a little video games. But going back to earlier in the week, it's been another busy week. Went and saw a movie on, was it? I think it was on Wednesday. I think Monday, I think I just hung out. Tuesday, I went to an open mic to work through some newer stuff. I tell you what, once I get back from this tour, I'm going to be working through all new stuff. I'm going to be sick of saying the jokes that I've said. I'm going to be doing a bunch of long sets, doing all the jokes. But excited to get back and kind of mentally start new and force myself to work through new premises, new jokes, really get that creative brain working, trying to work. We'll see if it works out, but that really is a huge part of the fun with stand-up comedy. Is just like, I've got nothing. Let me try to put something together. It's very, that's very fun. I enjoy that process quite a bit. But went and did a couple new jokes at Deep Roots. It's an open mic on Tuesdays, kind of in downtown Rhino area. Rhino, River North, part of Denver, at a wine bar. But that was good. Wednesday, went out date night with the girlfriend. Went to watch a movie. We've been watching a lot of movies, which, We talked about it. We don't want to get in the habit of just doing movies every date night, but I do. Movies are fun. I haven't watched a ton of movies throughout my lifespan. Kind of the only times I would go to the movie theater would be like if I had a significant other. Um, which, let's be honest, not that often throughout my lifetime. Or like when I was in high school and college, I had a real close buddy who went and saw movies all the time, so we would go watch movies pretty often. But those were kind of the only times. And so it feels good to be back. That's what I'm trying to say. So we went and saw The Fall Guy, which is about like a stunt guy. It's a very fun action. It's got Ryan Gosling. Uh, what a what a you know what? Big fan of Ryan. He's the ladies be like he's good looking. Yeah, I mean he is good looking, but he's very funny. I don't think he did a lot of comedy roles until a little bit later in his career. He did a little bit more serious stuff, I think, with like Remember the Titans and whatever that rom-com is. Oh boy. You guys are going to be yelling in the audience. The listeners are going to be so mad. It's called something note. The Notebook. There it is. Got it, guys. And then whatever other movies he was in back then. But I feel like once he did Crazy Stupid Love with Steve Carell, and then after that, like Nice Guys with Russell Crowe, I don't know. There's plenty of movies, including this one. His brand of comedic acting, big fan of. Very funny. It's just very. What's a good way to describe it? It's like a very nuanced, sarcastic, dry comedy or comedic timing. But it was very good. I thought the movie was good. I heard another podcast somebody was talking about it and they didn't think it was that good. I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was just a good, solid movie. Is it my favorite movie I've ever seen? No. But it was a good movie. Like it was well worth the watch. So also, by the way, been seeing a lot more movies recently, and man, inflation, baby. Movie prices have really, really gone up. I'm going to give you guys the timeline of my movie viewing timeline. I hate to repeat the same word, but I couldn't think of another way to say it. So when I was younger, and just all the way through high school, even like college, I would go to the quote unquote dollar theater in Lynchburg, Virginia. Okay. Movies were $1, hence the name. Now on like peak, maybe weekends, I think they were like $2.50. But what I didn't realize, I genuinely did not know this. The dollar theater, it was $1 because they played movies like 3 or 4 months after they came out to the main theaters. But I would only go to the dollar theater. I thought every movie was $1. I just thought that was a regular theater. I genuinely did not know that was like, hey, this is the theater that gets the movies after they're already like beyond their time. So my brain just got used to that. I just thought that's what it was. And then like when I went to college, college at Radford University, Southwest Virginia, a little small area. They had like a theater, a couple theaters there, and they're just like the old school theaters. So maybe they weren't $1, but they're probably a couple dollars. So that's where my brain was formed around movies are $1, $2, $3, $5 maybe if you're like, whoa, this is a fancy one. But then you get out of college. I get out of college and start going to like real theaters, the chains and the fancier ones. And you're like, okay, movies are $10. Wow, holy cow, that's crazy. And then at a certain point they went up to like $12. And now these movies are like $16.75 a piece. And that's for like the regular. They have all these theaters where they're like, do you want the IMAX? Do you want the Dolby audio? Dolby. I think it's like a better audio. I don't even know. They just got all these different things that they're like, we're going to throw a couple extra bucks on top of that. Which you go, okay, you know what? Date night, $35, $40, that's fine. That's fine. But then you go, okay, let me get a large popcorn and some Junior Mints and a Diet Pepsi. And they're like, all right, that'll be $75. And you're like, what? It's like 50 cents a popcorn kernel? That's crazy. Which, by the way, I say all this in jest. I enjoy going to the movies. I don't want, if Delina's listening, my girlfriend, she's going to be like, she's going to tell me later, she's going, oh, are you mad every time we go to the movies? I'm not. I love going to the movies. I think it's a good time. It is just funny how I think being not sheltered, but growing up in a sheltered environment where my brain formed thinking that movies were $1. And you just now to where it's at, it is kind of funny. I mean, that's just how it works. Gas was 89 cents when Sheetz first came to my hometown, and now it's more than that. You guys know how much gas cost. But yeah, went and saw The Fall Guy. It was a good movie. I enjoyed it a lot. If you haven't seen it and are thinking about going to see a movie, check it out. If you have seen it, let me know in the comments. What did you think? Did you think it was a good, solid movie, or did you hate it? I think I gave it a 3.75 out of 5. Delina and I have been rating all the movies that we've seen. We've seen, I might get this wrong, but we've seen, oh man, we saw Dune. Dune 2, I think I gave that a 3.75. We saw Love, Lies, Guns or something, the one with Kristen Stewart. I think I gave that like a 3.5. We saw The Challengers with Zendaya. You know who I'm talking about. Chani from Dune 2 and Dune 1. I think I gave that one, Challengers, a 3. I think. And then The Fall Guys, 3.75. I know all kind of within the 3, but yeah, I thought it was good. 3.75. Obviously, that's a 7.5 out of 10. That's a solid movie. I would say that's a solid movie. So if you haven't seen it, let me know. Let me know what you thought about it. But yeah, I've got. I'm gonna try to cram in a bunch of comedy stuff now. See if I can get it all in the next 10 minutes. But then, so that was Wednesday. Went on date night. Thursday. What did I do Thursday? I didn't have comedy. I think I was going to go to some mics, but ended up staying in and just working through some stuff. But Friday did a Don't Tell show. Hosted a Don't Tell show in Denver at a hotel. It was somewhat lightly attended for this one. It was game 3, I think, for the Nuggets. Which now that we're getting into playoff season with both the basketball season and the hockey season, and with the Nuggets and the Avalanche both being the Denver teams, both being in the playoffs, you're seeing a little dip in attendance. So not a surprise, but there was still like 40 people in the crowd. It was kind of a tight crowd, but it was fine. It was still fun. It's always good to get out there and host and just be thrown in every environment possible to try to get better in general. But that was the Friday show. Saturday, I didn't actually have a show scheduled. Kind of one of the few Saturdays, honestly, in the last probably 3 to 4 months where I haven't had a show on Saturday. But good buddy, good friend of the podcast, Ethan Everhart, he had a show going on at Max Taps in Centennial. And I hit him up to be like, maybe I'll come by the show. I asked him, hey, you got a guest spot? I probably would have gone and hung out. I was just looking for something to do. I didn't have to do time. But he said somebody on the lineup actually dropped out. So he's like, do you want to do a full spot? I was like, oh, heck yeah. So went to do that. And it's like a brewery. And look, it's a big open room and it's a free show. So a lot of people were there. Not for comedy. But I'll say this. First, the Avs game was on. So the night before the Nuggets game was on, this night was the Avs game. I'm not sure. I don't follow hockey, so I'm not sure. I think they're playing the Dallas Stars, maybe. But people were obviously there to drink and watch that. But all in all, like, it wasn't too chaotic. You know, some people were paying attention, some people were not. It wasn't that bad in the sense of people like yelling out or being super loud in the background. But it definitely was one of those where you're like, hey, a lot of people aren't paying attention. How can I present myself in the best way possible? Meaning, I've been very spoiled with doing a bunch of don't tell shows and a bunch of shows in general where it's like people have paid for tickets and they're sitting here and they're watching, and like um it's the my brain wanted to say ultimate. It's the what's the word? It's the best case scenario for comedy. We'll just put it that way. And so you can just do the jokes and people laugh, and that's great. But I think it is important to A, to stay humble, but also B, to just like learn to pivot and learn to be in the moment and go with the flow and figure out like, hey, this specific room needs you to pivot in this direction in order to do the best that you can. Now, maybe the best you can do in a room like that isn't great, but I think it's always good to try to do the best that you can do. So Ethan went up, really, bit the bullet. Not trying to make fun, but that's just when you're hosting in a scenario like that, and they cut off like most of the TVs, and people are like, "Oh, what the heck?" You're really just kind of trying to get people like, "Hey, I'm talking into a microphone for the next 10 minutes to let you guys know that comedy's happening, to hopefully have you be kind of paying attention when I bring up the first comic." So that's kind of what it was for Ethan's set. But then another local comic, Joe McKenna, went up, and Joe's great. He's very good, positive energy. He's a very funny comic, and I watched him, and he did what I would have done, which is in a free show like that, where there's a couple people paying attention, a lot of people aren't paying attention, it's a little bit chaotic. Most of the time in that scenario, it's best to just like be in the moment, a normal human being, and maybe just talk to some of the people. And if you can kind of segue into jokes, great. If not, it's like, well, if a lot of people aren't paying attention, then just doing the jokes, you kind of look like a crazy person. So he was kind of like trying to play with the crowd and ask them questions, which is what I would have done as well. But interestingly, this is the first time not the first time, this happens sometimes, but the crowd just wasn't really wanting to interact. So I was able to see his set, and not that Joe did poorly. It's just one of those where, it's kind of a chaotic room, and you try to interact with people, and people kind of like make it known like they're not really giving you much to then be able to just play and be a normal person. So then it's kind of like, oh, you're asking a bunch of questions, and then a lot of people are kind of just shutting you down, which is not a great feeling. But I was fortunate enough to be able to see that, and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to just do the jokes. It's been a while that I've done a show like that where it's kind of chaotic, and you're like, a lot of people aren't paying attention, but I'm going to do the jokes, and I'm going to like sell it. I'm going to sell it. And also, I was very much wanting to run the jokes, so it worked out perfectly, because I was like, I really want to just say the jokes, and the fact that they're not really receptive to the conversation or crowd work, perfect. So I just did the jokes, and I did it in like a very, I didn't just stand there and say jokes like a crazy person, but I very much looked around and like just tried to do the best that I could, and tried to be like, not show them at all that I was deterred or like discouraged by the fact that not many people were paying attention. I tried to present it as if like everybody was paying attention, and like, hey, we're all having a good time. And I felt really good about it. I did, 15 minutes and did all the jokes that I wanted to do, and asked them to a round of applause if you've, ever done, like, there were 2 jokes maybe that before I went into it, I asked like, hey, have you guys ever done this? And got round of applause if you've ever, been to therapy or whatever. And people applauded, and it's like, yes. They applauded. They're listening a little bit. So it was one of those where you kind of just stick to it, and you see people kind of tune in then tune out. But you just, when they tune in, you try to be funny and hold them there. And when they tune out, you go, well, let me keep being funny, and hopefully I'll get you back here in a couple minutes. But that was a good time. That was Saturday night. Enjoyed that. Appreciate the spot, Ethan. Very fun. He runs that show in Centennial, and I've also done the Max Taps in Highlands Ranch, which is a separate room. And that's a very good room. It's a very fun room. But the Centennial one, I had a great time. Like I said, I think it's very fun and important to do a bunch of rooms like that to stay humble. That makes it sound like it was terrible. It was totally fine. But I think you can, if you're just getting spoiled by incredible shows, it's good to do different shows where maybe it's a free show or a little rowdy or things like that, just to stay humble in general, to never get in your head and go, I'm incredible. Because at the end of the day, you can bomb at any time. You can lose it at any time. It's important to, remember who you are. But with that said, that was Saturday. We are now at Monday. This will come out Wednesday, and Wednesday is the day that I will be leaving for this tour. Going on tour with fellow Denver comedian Edward Bell. Very funny guy, good buddy. We're going to be driving out to Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee. Man, all over the place. We're going to be going to a bunch of different spots. Really excited for it. I'm trying to kind of pack little by little. It's always one of those things where you're like, I pack very light, but for a trip of this length and trying to be prepped and prepared and ahead of the game when it comes to packing healthy foods and all the audio equipment, and then all right, I might not be able to wash my clothes for a week and a half. I guess I need to bring a lot of clothes. So just trying to get prepared and prepped and make sure I'm not forgetting anything super important. But really excited. Like I said, if you're in any of those areas, please take a look. If you go to my Linktree, it has a list of all my shows. I also made a post on Instagram. Also on my Instagram, in my bio, there's a link to the Linktree that I mentioned, which has a list of all the shows and ticket links. So yeah, if you're in any of the areas there, would love to see you out. Don't hesitate to shoot me a message. If it is a ticketed show and you don't want to pay, hit me up. I'm sure I can get you in, I imagine. But yeah, very much looking forward to that. It's going to be a good time. Going to be able to run 30 to 40 minutes almost every night, which it's been a minute since I've done that. So I'm very excited to put the new 30 together, which I feel is a lot tighter, a lot of new jokes in there. Yeah. So I feel like this is one step closer to having, almost the full headliner set that I'll be able to hopefully take on the road and really start getting some momentum in that direction. So looking forward to that. But with that said, I'll end the podcast there. Thank you guys so much for listening if you made it this far. Again, feel free to comment on anything that I talked about during the episode. I can't really remember the questions that I asked, but leave a comment, just a thumbs up. Give it a like. Give me a subscribe on YouTube. I've got 35 subscribers, and that's pretty low. But yeah, genuinely, thank you guys if you made it this far. Thanks for listening. Appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys again next week.